Welcome, everybody. Welcome our dear speaker tonight, the internet's most popular rabbi, Rabbi Friedman. I, along with many non-Jews, even Christians, Muslims, Jews, everybody who listens, we start our day with Rabbi Friedman, and we end our day with Rabbi Friedman. And I even heard that from our past president, Edmond Elbaz, yesterday. So we're in for a beautiful evening, very down to earth, very basic. And if you don't know about Chabad and what they're all about, I learned from a video of Rabbi Friedman recently that, you know, over the centuries, Judaism has become kind of by osmosis, influences, background noise from outside our faith, kind of penetrated, and you tend to see some dilution there. And so Chabad has, since 200 years ago already, even back then, their whole mission is just to take everything back to the source, back to the basics. And since I've heard Rabbi Friedman once, I'll never forget it. He was in Israel and he was looking to see if he can find any Jews. So he asked one person on the street and stopped somebody who says, he says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm a Haredi." So he stopped somebody else and the answer is, "I'm an Orthodox." He stops another person and they give another name. So he's asking himself, where are the Jews? And one guy said, he told him, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a Jew." He said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Cleveland." And so today I was thinking, just before signing on tonight, this thought hit me that, like our our history scholar, Sami Surani, says, nationalities were imposed upon us. And so I'm thinking like Rabbi Friedman. He says there were no conservative and reform Jews in Mount Sinai, at the foot of the mountain. And so in a way, are we not boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Mount Sinai by sticking to our separate corners and being, divided and factioned? And so I thought, Rabbi Friedman has such an inclusive voice, and we can help him in some way bolster that message just by telling him who we are and sharing our story. And like since the 50s and even before, we are a conglomerate of Jews from the Middle East and North Africa, from all kinds of countries who disinherited us. And so we kept coming. Rabbi Joseph, he was 40 years, he was our rabbi, and he kept receiving everybody. And he had this way of bringing everyone together. But you see, we don't believe in labels and embellishments, like all these different factions of Judaism. The only thing we know is that we are a 4-letter word, Jews. And so that's who Rabbi Friedman was looking for in Jerusalem and wherever else he was in Israel. So I just want to tell him, you have given me so much, and I've not seen one comment in the blogs that wasn't grateful for your teachings. So now I'm going to stop talking because we want to listen to our spiritual leader, Rabbi Maimon Pinto.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I guess we're going to start until the videos are turned on. First of all, I'd like to say Baruch haba to Rabbi Friedman. We look forward and we are very excited to hear what you have to tell us about narcissism. Intimacy. I also had an intimate moment with Rabbi Friedman, if I may say so. He probably doesn't remember. I shared with him, not actually shared, I had a bagel in the same bagel place as him when he was back here in Montreal right before COVID. I'm not expecting him to remember that. I think he came into Montreal to make a presentation at the time. It was one of the bagel shops on Lucerne. In any case, I read your book, Rabbi. I remember as a young rabbi at the time, my first book that I was exposed to from your writings was Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore? Classic, beautiful writing, and some of your other books as well. Your video, Rabbi Friedman has a beautiful video about the key, the secret key. As Sandra said, Rabbi Friedman is the most popular rabbi on the internet today, online. You could watch his videos, you could see him, and we are delighted that he's here with us. Our community is very diverse, very inclusive, from Ashkenazim, Sephardim, Moroccans, Iraqis,
even Ethiopians.
Lebanese. Thank God we have a beautiful diversity, and we like to call ourselves just simple Jews, as Sandra mentioned, and Rabbi Friedman. I think it's something that is very part of the teaching of the Rebbe and Chabad, as seeing every Jew for who he is, and not look at the exterior, but looking in the interior of every single one of us. Baruch haba, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Shalom aleichem.
Aleichem shalom.
So here we go. Rabbi Manis Friedman. Well, here I'm quoting another wonderful rabbi who was introducing you in a video. So that's where I got this bio. So it's word for word. If you forgive me, but I thought no one can say it better than him. So he says, he's a very sought after speaker. He is world renowned, the author of a book about marriage in the Jewish sense, The Joy of Intimacy. One of the lesser known things about Rabbi Manis Friedman is that in the days when the Lubavitcher Rabbi would speak publicly, and that would go on for Farbrengens, when the Rebbe would speak for 4 or 5 hours at a time. At the time, Rabbi Friedman was the simultaneous translator of the Rebbe's words. And just to give you a little inkling, he says, of what that entails, the rabbi did not give out his speeches in advance. It wasn't like the United Nations where they would give you the script and you got time to look it over. So in order to be able to focus on what the Rebbe was saying, and the Rebbe was all over the place, he was all over the Torah, all over the Talmud, all over Kabbalah. You never knew what he was going to come out with, what verse he was going to quote, and how he was going to put it all together. You had to be an absolute genius to be able to sit there, to listen, and to translate from the Yiddish to English simultaneously. And that was the job that Rabbi Friedman had, and he did a pretty good job, says that other rabbi. It's an honor to have him with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to introduce you tonight to Rabbi Manis Friedman. So it's all yours.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the issue. The Torah says, It is not good for man to be alone. Loi toiv heyos ha'odam levadoi. Which is it's very obvious that something unusual is being said here, because it's all part of the description of Maaseh Bereshit. It's all a description of creation. So on the first day, God created light, and it was good. And on the second day, God created the heaven, and it was good. And on the third day, God made vegetation, trees and grass, and it was all of a sudden, on the sixth day, when God creates Adam, God says, it is not good that man alone exists, so I will create him a helpmate. And so he created Chava. The obvious question is, why did he have to say that? Every day, God is creating what needs to be created. So if on the sixth day, God needs to create man and woman, then God should just go ahead and create. Why did God have to say why he's going to create the woman? Because it's not good for man to be alone. It's almost like he's justifying, he's excusing himself. So why did God have to say it's not good for man to be alone? Just create the woman and he won't be alone. The profound and relevant insight that gives us is, number one, God had to say it's not good to be alone, otherwise it would be good to be alone. In other words, God said it is not good and made it not good. It's an act of creation. God created this condition that it's not good to be alone. On a Kabbalistic level, when God said it is not good to be alone, he was talking about himself. You know why I'm creating human beings? Because I'm alone, and it's not good to be alone. So now we have to look a little deeper. Is it not good to be alone? Don't you hear people constantly saying, leave me alone? they want to be left alone. Is it so bad to be alone? Now, obviously, there are things that we need from each other. I can't do it myself. I need help. But that's because I'm incapable, not because I'm alone. It's not bad to be alone. It's bad to be incapable. So, men can't do laundry and women can't parallel park. So now we need each other. We don't need each other because we're alone. We need each other for tasks. But that's not what it says. It says it's not good to be alone. So that even if you're perfectly capable and you don't need any help for anything, but you're alone, that's not good. Why? A person who is completely self-sufficient, what's wrong with that? That seems perfect. So is it good to be alone or is it not good to be alone? So if you take the words seriously, carefully, what is missing when a person is alone? Goodness. There's no goodness when you're alone. You can be perfect, and that's impressive, but there's nothing good about it. What's good in being perfect. All goodness begins when there are two people, two parties. Now you can either be good or bad to each other. But just being alone and perfect, that's perfect. But where's goodness? There's no goodness in being alone, even if you're perfect. Well, now we know why we need to get married. The reason we need to get married is because it's not good to be alone. When you get married, then all the goodness you're capable of will be put to use. You're going to use and you're going to express every good quality you have in order to make the marriage what it's supposed to be. In other words, by nature, every human being is selfish. Every human being is independent. Every human being wants to be perfect. And as far as the human condition goes, being alone is great. The feeling that we have that makes us really uncomfortable with being alone is because we're created in God's image. To hate being alone, that's godly, that's not human. The need to be married is not a human need, it's a holy need. It's a godly need. And the only reason we have that need is because we're created in God's image and God has that need. Which is very different from, let's say, a person gets angry. A person getting angry is not kosher. God is the creator of the world. He has a right to get angry if you destroy his world. But we are just guests in his house. We have no right to be angry. So if a human being gets angry, he's acting as if he's God. And that's not kosher. Jealous. Human beings get jealous. We have no right to be jealous. Only the Creator can be jealous. So when we have those feelings which belong only to Him, then we're like serving idols. We're acting as if we are God. But this need to not be alone, this is a godly instinct that God put into us. And it's a good thing that we have it. We're not acting like God. This is the godly part within us, the godly image. Just as God doesn't want to be alone, even though He's perfect, we also have that. Even if I was perfect, being alone doesn't make any sense because there's no goodness to it. Now, how should we describe this condition where it's not good to be alone? I'm perfect, I'm wonderful, I'm capable, I'm independent, but just me is not good enough. But with you, now it's wonderful. See, that should be called true vulnerability. What does it mean that a human being is vulnerable? That he can be hurt? That he can be insulted? That he can be killed? That's a weakness. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's a great talent. What is real vulnerability? I'm not enough. To make life right, I need you. That's real vulnerability, and it has nothing to do with pain or hurt or weakness. It's one of the nicest things about the human being. That even if I were completely independent, I would still need you. This doesn't exist in the animal kingdom. Animals need each other because there are things they can't do by themselves. They have to hunt in groups and packs. They have to protect each other, warn each other, or reproduce with each other. Otherwise, they don't need each other to be complete. This vulnerability is really the extreme opposite of narcissism. The opposite of narcissism is not only do I have room for you in my life, not only do I need you for practical purposes, I need you essentially. Because without you, my existence is not right. The narcissist is the exact opposite. I don't need you. I'm perfect within myself, and I'm fascinated with myself, and your existence disturbs me. I don't know why you exist. Who needs you? That's the narcissist. Now, when you go from narcissism to vulnerability, you become capable of intimacy. Because intimacy means I am merging with you, I am bonding with you, I am becoming one with you, because it's not good to be alone. But I'm not using you for some practical, pragmatic, necessary accomplishment. That's not bonding, that's just mutual support. I'll help you, you'll help me, and we'll both benefit. It's a good deal. That's not bonding. So in intimacy, we don't use each other to achieve a noble goal. It's more than that. We're not using, we're merging, we're bonding, we're blending into one being. And that's because just me, not acceptable, no matter how smart I am, no matter how good I am, no matter how perfect I am. But just me is not acceptable. For no practical reason. It's just a godly fact that alone is not kosher. And we can't even explain why that is. So, a person thinking about getting married may be thinking we'll become partners 50-50. I'll do for you, you'll do for me. I'll fill in all your weaknesses where you need help. You'll fill in all my weaknesses where I need help, and we will both become perfect. That's not a good marriage. Because you're using each other and you're focused on the things that you can do for each other. You're not focused on the other. No matter how valuable, no matter how important the benefits are, I need something from you that is really, really significant, important, and valuable and noble. You bring out the best in me. Not good. Because I'm not married to you, I'm married to the effect that you are going to have on me. I am married to the benefit that I will receive by being married to you. So if a man says, I love everything about my wife, doesn't that sound good? Everything. I love everything about my wife. I love her sense of humor. I love her looks. I love her personality. I love her parents. I love her style. I love her cooking. There's nothing about her that I don't like. There's just one question. Do you love her? Yeah, I love everything about her. Do you love her? This is a very important question. All the things you love about her, everybody else would love to. I mean, who doesn't love an intelligent, good-looking, capable, funny? I mean, who doesn't like that? That's so generic. Do you like her or him? Not the things about him, just him. Do you need him in your life? Well, I need him to help me with this. I need him to help me with that. Oh, so you just need those things, not him. Like, for example, your husband is out of town. He's away. He's out of town. And you miss him. If somebody would ask you, what do you miss about him? He is not here. I miss him. Yeah, but what about him? Not about him, just him. So there is such a thing. There is the person without all the things. So even if I was getting nothing from my wife, I still need a wife. So nothing you get from your husband or wife can be more important than your husband or wife. This is one of the problems that is destroying the intimacy of marriage. We get married for the benefits, good benefits, not frivolous, not silly. We get married for the company, we get married for the support, we get married for the advice, good things. And we also get the opportunity to be good to each other, to express all our kindness and our respect and our generosity. Good stuff. But are you married to each other? Can you put all things aside and just bond to each other? So here's a very graphic way of putting it. Let's say I marry you for your money because you happen to have money and I happen to like money. Good shidduch, no? The problem with that, of course, is that I'm not married to you. I'm married to the money. So if a man says to a woman, please marry me because I love your money, he's not marrying her, he's marrying the money. It's as if he's saying, could you just give me the money? I don't really want to marry you. I want to get the money. I understand the only way to get your money is to marry you. But is there some way that I can get the money without marrying you? Wouldn't that be perfect? No, that's not possible? Okay, so I'll marry you for the money. That is not intimacy. It's like saying to God, I just want to get to heaven. I want Gan Eden. Can I just get to Gan Eden? No, no, I have to worship you. I have to do all the mitzvot. Can't you just let me into Gan Eden? That is so nasty. I don't really want to worship you, and I don't want to do your mitzvahs, and I don't want to obey you. I just want to get to heaven. Why does everything have to be so complicated? Just let me into heaven. See, the same is true with love. I'm marrying you for the love. I love you and you love me. That's it. That's what I want. So I marry you. The first day of the marriage, you tell me that you're in a bad mood. Something upset you. My reaction is, hey, I didn't marry you for your moods. I don't want to hear about it. Just give me the love. That's all I want. That's what I married you for. Don't bring in this other stuff. In other words, I don't need the rest of you. I just want the love. That's not intimate. Intimacy means I without you. I don't know what I am without you. Because just I is not a sentence. It's not a concept. It doesn't say anything. You start a sentence with the word I, it means nothing. That's why you shouldn't say, I love you. Don't start a sentence with I. Because then it's a little narcissistic. I am very important. And what I need, somebody must give me because I need it. So if I can get something I need from you, then you're useful. If I can't get anything I need from you, then you're not useful. So instead of saying, I love you, we should start saying, you I love. I don't love everybody, but you I love. You always start off with you. Like under the chuppah, what do you say? What does the chassan say? Hareat. In the non-Jewish world, the vows are, I vow to love and cherish and support, and you started with I. It's not good. But we begin with Hareat. You are sanctified. And the same thing with every bracha that we make. Baruch atah. The only exception is Modeh Ani. But that's not a bracha. So every blessing is about you, not about me. It's not, I really appreciate that you bring bread from the earth. No. Baruch atah, you are blessed for bringing bread from the earth. That's intimacy. Intimacy means I put aside everything, all the things that I love about you. I put them all aside because those are just things. And I don't need those things when I have you. Intimacy means husband and wife being with each other and having nothing between them. That is a godly gift. Only a human being is capable of this because we're created in God's image. So it all begins with it's not good to be alone. That's the beginning of everything. Because if it was good to be alone, we would all be narcissists. And there would be no life, and there would be no closeness, and there would be no intimacy, and therefore there would be no children. There would be offspring, like animals. They reproduce. They don't really have children. There's no bond between husband and wife, then there is no bond between children and parent. All of that comes from it's not good to be alone. Anybody have any comments or questions?
I have one comment. You've said that ever since the 60s, something happened, and that's where it's just we've got it all wrong. It's almost like the balance was tipped in another direction. And ever since then, everybody's in this mindset that is totally upside down. Can you expand on that, Rabbi?
Those who remember the motto of the 60s was make love, not war. It was a reaction to the war in Vietnam. And the ideal was that we should have free love. That became like the highest standard. The most noble way of living is to have free love. And what they meant is free sex. That intimacy was too heavy, it was too serious, it was too uncomfortable. Why can't we just relax and have free love? Why can't it be without emotional involvement, without commitment, without permanence, without vows? Just have some fun. What's the problem? In other words, we took intimacy out of sexuality. And what we're left with is empty, shallow sexuality that not only doesn't satisfy, it actually makes you crazy. It's disturbing to the human system. It leaves you feeling drained and reduced and empty and embarrassed. Intimacy between a husband and wife makes you feel innocent. It makes you feel holy. It makes you feel better than before. But this empty, meaningless sex leaves you feeling reduced, diminished, and undignified. You've lost respect for yourself and for the person you're with.
You said even like loneliness, like health departments are opening a section just for loneliness, and like intimacy is a human need, like food and water.
Yes. To bond for life with another human being is a genuine need. as real as the need to eat and drink and sleep and breathe. Sex is pleasurable. There's no need for it. You can go your whole life without sex, just like you can go your whole life without chocolate. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to go their whole life without chocolate. But if you never have chocolate, well, you're not missing anything. Same is true with sex. You're not missing anything if you don't have sex, but you're missing everything if you don't have intimacy. I mean, the proof of it is, it's interesting that where's the proof that you don't really need sex? The proof is you never have enough.
Mm.
So some people think, you see how important it is? You can never have enough. Why do you never have enough? Because you never needed it in the first place. When you have a real need and you satisfy the need, you're satisfied. You're hungry, you eat, you're not hungry. But if you're eating junk food, which doesn't,
That's
right,
so
it
true.
doesn't, it doesn't come from hunger. It comes from the enjoyment of your taste buds.
Like with a bag of chips.
Yeah. So when are you going to have enough? When will you be satisfied? You can't be satisfied when there's no need. Only a need can be satisfied. Pleasure can't be satisfied. There's no limit to pleasure. So if you can never have enough, it means you don't need it. But what happens is sex keeps two people separate. It doesn't bond people. You're using each other for mutual benefit. I like it, you like it, so why not?
Yeah.
You're not bonding because each person experiences only their own pleasure. So as you have that pleasure, you're moving more and more into your own little universe. You're not bonding with the other person. The result is couples who are married, they have good sex, they're
Yeah.
satisfied,
Yeah.
but they feel alone. They're alone in the world, each of them separately. The wife feels like she's alone in the world. I say, how can you feel that? You're married, you have a husband, you're not alone. No, it feels like I'm alone in the world. And the reason is because the sex has no intimacy. Intimacy bonds you, and you're never alone again, even if you're on opposite sides of the ocean. But without the intimacy, sex does not create closeness. Now, the experts are catching on. They're starting to catch on. And all the advice columns, how to have better sex, how to improve your sex, how to get them, they're now realizing that was bad advice. Because, listen to this brilliant insight. We don't need more pleasure in our lives. Our generation, we have more pleasure than any generation in history. We can get on a jet plane and fly to Austria for a cupcake because they make such good cupcakes there. You can fly to France just to have dinner or a French wine. We have all the pleasure we could possibly ever ask for. We don't need more pleasure. What we desperately need is more closeness. They realized it. Took 5,000 years, but they did catch on. Marriage is not for pleasure, marriage is for closeness. Now, closeness is very pleasurable. maybe more pleasurable than just sex. But it's the pleasure of bonding, not individual pleasure that happens at the same time. So the shocking thing is the two things that are destroying marriages is love and sex. Because these are two things that people are looking for in their marriage, and they forget about each other. Our grandparents, when they got married, they married each other. The things they got from each other, not so impressive. So they complained about those things, but they would never give up each other. We, on the other hand, love everything about marriage. We just don't see why we need each other. Yeah, I need the love, and I need the sex, and I need the companionship, and I need the security. I don't know why I need the rest of you.
Somebody has a question. Let me see if I read this right. So, based on what you said, a real relationship or the need of not being alone is godly. Would it be accurate to say that, according to you, if one does not think and godly concepts, he would never marry, or he or she is getting married for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, if we're not thinking about merging with another person, then we'll get married only to take benefits of things that we get from the other person. Like the Mishnah says, there's a love that is dependent on something, ahava hatluya b'dava, and then there's a love that is not dependent on anything. So if it's not dependent on anything, what do you love? The person. Not something or things about the person, just the person himself. That's godly. That's like we're told we have to have Ahavas Yisrael. You have to love every Jew. What am I getting from every Jew? I don't get anything from. Yeah, because it's not about anything. It's because we're meant to be one, not separate. The opposite of narcissism.
And so when you said, Rabbi, that
Just
marriage mirrors the intimacy we had with God,
That is amazing, right? God says, I'm going to create my people because I don't want to be alone. So what does he need from us? Nothing, just that we should be his people. So what are all the mitzvot? Doesn't he need us to do mitzvot? It's like, I marry you because I want you in my life. But you have your own house and I'll have my house. No, 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 no. I want you in my life, which means in my house. I want you in my life means at my table. God says, I want you to be mine, which means be with me. Just be with me. How do you be with me? Well, I work creating the world 6 days of the week. On Shabbat, I rest. So rest with me on Shabbat and create with me during the week. So during the week, it's a mitzvah to go to work and to produce things and to build things and to fix things. Create. On Shabbat, don't create. Why? Because you want to be with him. So he tells us how his week is structured. I work during 6 days, I rest on the seventh. I want you with me. So I'm going to tell you everything about me, God says, so that you can be with me. I don't like pork, so you shouldn't like it either. I don't like adultery, so don't like it either. Stay with me, by my side. So does he need you to do the mitzvah? He needs you to be with him. And you do that through the mitzvah. And
Right.
that's why a Jew who doesn't do any mitzvahs is still a Jew, because God still needs him or her to be beside him. Like if you're keeping Shabbat and you're sitting at the Shabbat table and your child doesn't want to come to the table, are you upset because of Shabbat, or are you upset because your child is not sitting with you at your table? You're not on the same page. You have separated. That's painful. But it's your child that you miss, not the religion. So God says, if I rest, I need you to rest with me. If I work, I need you to work with me. The things I love, I need you to love them too. The things I hate, I need you to hate them too. So the whole Torah is God telling us what he wants, what he feels, what he does, what he hates, so that we can stay by his side in all of these ways. But ultimately, what he needs is that you should be his. So if you don't do mitzvot, he needs you, but he doesn't have you. So maybe he even needs you a little more than before, not less.
Thank you, Rabbi. Janet Biton would like to share a few words or ask a question. Please let me allow you to talk. Janet, go right ahead.
All right, I actually have 2 points. Thank you, Rabbi Maimon. So the first one is that although I agree with your ideas on intimacy, I disagree with your understanding of animals and the characteristics you attribute or do not attribute to animals. I have noticed in my own life, my own experience, that the more, and I've seen a lot of things on in YouTube, etc., that the more intelligent animals do need attachment and not to share tasks, but just for the attachment. Even ducks who mate for life will spend the rest of their lives calling out for their lost partners if the partner disappears, say in a shooting. Um, the second issue that I wanted to raise. So the first one is that they will love, they will like a dog, even a raccoon brought up with a person or a skunk will become very very attached and truly. I don't know, be concerned and appreciate for the person that he lives with, and be concerned when the person is ill, etc. Okay, the second issue I wanted to raise is about the spiritual nature of intelligent animals. Um, so besides the love that various animals will show for their offspring and for parents and for siblings, say in elephants, I will tell you about what I believe to be a spiritual expression that I witnessed personally when I was in Africa. There was a terrible, terrible storm. We were about to go out of the little shelter that we were in. We went back in, and it was in an area where there were a lot of chimpanzees, maybe a family. I don't know how they were related, but about 10, 12 chimpanzees. The storm started, and they all disappeared. They went up into the trees. At the end of the storm, they came down one by one, and they seem to be making a circle. And they raise their long arms to the sky, not in unison, but close. And then they bowed down and seemed to go towards the earth. And they did this quite a few times. So to me, it was an expression of gratitude to the powers that be, to the nature god, to whatever they thought was up there, some power that stopped the storm, that they survived. They survived that storm. So anyway, those two things, I believe animals do have, I don't know, souls or something close to it. At least dogs do, and horses and various other animals. And I think that many of them, elephants, chimpanzees, have a spiritual sense.
Thank you, Janet. Rabbi, would you like to respond, or was that a question or just a remark?
Well, yes, respond. I don't know if you want to say anything about what I said.
I'm not really interested in knocking or criticizing animals. But what then is the difference between humans and animals?
Are you asking me?
Sure.
Oh, what is the difference? Well, some sort of evolution, some sort of development. We are more developed, and that's why I think various animals that don't seem to have too much intelligence, they don't seem to take care of their children. We see the same thing with the humans that, I don't know, they're either empty-headed or they're filled with something that does not allow them to concentrate on loving and protecting their children. So I think the difference is an intelligence or wisdom, something like that. Yes.
Okay, so let me share an interesting thought. We know, again, going back to the story of creation, that when Adam was created, the first human being, the Torah makes a very strong point of letting us know that this first human being was male and female, which is kind of weird, hard to picture. They were like back to back, like two sides of a coin. One side was male, the other side was female. God separated them, and they became two separate people. And right after separating them, God says, get married, cleave to each other, and become one. Now, the obvious question is, they were very much one, but you separated them. Now you're telling them to become one through marriage? Will they ever be as one as they were before? Even in the best marriage? You have to assume that this is progress. And that's correct. Somehow we are benefiting by being separated and then coming together by our own free choice. The way Kabbalah says it is that before we were separated, we were united, bonded like Siamese twins, but back to back. The reason God separated us and tells us to become one through marriage is because now we can become one face to face. It's such a powerful idea. The difference between back to back and face to face, back to back is involuntary, instinctive. God created you connected, so you're connected. Face to face means I look you in the eye and I decide that you are for me. Freedom of choice. Now, the physical oneness is not as great as when God creates the oneness. But the beauty of it and the meaningfulness is much greater. The difference between the animal with good instincts is that it's instinctive. A dog will be loyal to his owner even if the owner is a disgusting person. So in a sense, it's not so personal. A human being bonds with another human being with free choice. It's a personal selection. And that makes us not only more advanced, it's a different experience. So we are truly different creatures, not on the same spectrum. But we can learn from animals. I mean, we've always been told to learn from animals. Be as industrious as an ant, be as modest as a cat, be as fearless as a leopard. There are good things we can learn. But they do it instinctively, and we do it intentionally, morally, purposefully, and responsibly. We are responsible for our choices. That's a very different experience. So I guess being created back to back was like every other animal with its instincts. But then God said, no, I'm going to separate you and then use your own feelings and your own wisdom and your own thoughts, and you create a closeness. That's face to face. Isn't that beautiful?
It is very beautiful, and it's I love the idea of free will and of choice, but I think that we don't understand animals enough. And again, I'm thinking of so many things, such as gorillas choosing a partner, choosing an elephant picking up the bones of her deceased sister and raising it with her trunk to the skies. So I know we are at a different level intellectually and morally, in terms of free will, in terms of choice, etc., understanding, etc., and definitely as a consequence, we are closer to God, closer if we want to be. But I think that animals have some element of it, at least the higher animals, the higher level animals. But anyway, I do thank you very much, and I'll think about what you said.
If I may,
Thank you, Janice.
if we can go back to the relationship between Jews, because right now we're in a big crisis worldwide, and we're trying to find some equation that will foster more unity between ourselves. Rabbi Friedman, can you retell the story of when Entebbe happened and they went to bring the Jewish hostages back? You said there was a certain way that they addressed the hostages. I loved that. I mean, that was so lovable. That's intimacy also between us Jews.
I think what you're referring to is, I was talking about how powerful marriage is, that it is so much more than love. Much more powerful than love. Because marriage means a home. When you create a home, that is of a different universe. Love can be selfish. A home, not selfish at all. A home nurtures. But the point with the Entebbe thing was, the soldiers came, unbelievable heroes, unbelievable moral superiority, that they would do this, that they would even care enough I mean, it really taught the world a huge lesson. But what did they say after they eliminated the terrorists? What did they say to the hostages? They simply said, "Let's go home." And I was just thinking, what if they had said, "We came to save you because we love you"? It would have been inappropriate. It wouldn't have, it would have been shallow, hollow. They didn't need love at that moment. The best, the most perfect thing that they could have said was, "Let's go home." Home. What a powerful word. In a home, love thrives. Homes create love. Love doesn't create homes. Love often destroys homes because I fell out of love or I fell in love with somebody else. So, yes, the word home, and that's how we have to feel about our fellow Jew. Our fellow Jew is part of my home, part of my family. I may disagree with him, I may be disappointed, I may be critical, but I can't be without my family. So even when Jews don't get along, it's like a family squabble. And we can't forget that. We're not
Yeah,
strangers.
like Rabbi Sachs says, we can't make of one another spiritual refugees.
We can't put our religious behavior before our relationship with each other. First, we're family. Now we can argue about how to serve God best. But we argue because we are family. And so we care. If a Jew is not behaving, it hurts us. I think we do like each other and need each other more than we are willing to admit. So really, we just have to get comfortable admitting it. Like every Jew, you hear a terrible crime was committed anywhere in the world, and almost your first thought was, he wasn't Jewish, was he? The criminal. What do you care if he was Jewish? He's not your kind of Jew. You don't know him, but we're all in this together, and we can't divorce each other. So we might as well get along. It was a pleasure. This subject needs to be talked about a lot. You can't overdo it because, like the experts are now saying, we don't need more pleasure, we need more closeness. And there's no limit to how close you can get.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. First of all, it's fascinating. It's at a time where we ourselves deal with so many young people that are looking to get married, and shidduchim is not an easy task. And I'm sure you know this midrash of this chacham that came to the queen, and the queen asked him, "What does Hashem do all day?" Right? And he told him that Hashem is meshader shidduchim. That Hashem sits and he pairs up all these great neshamot. I know for myself that many times I've encouraged couples that came to me and asked for guidance about intimacy, that I shared with them your books, the ones intimacy. The last one that you wrote, Rabbi, was
The joy of intimacy.
the joy of intimacy. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, sharing very inspirational words. And as you said, it's a continuous topic that has to be constantly talked about with with your spouses, with your spouse, with your friends, with the young people. And hopefully we will be able to share your words here now that were recorded with some of our young congregants as well. I give you a blessing from Montreal. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for being here with us. Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully we'll have many more opportunities maybe to invite Rabbi Friedman for many more topics. Thank you so much.